Drivers, don't get tricked like I did. I'm going to show you some proof that Uber Eats manipulates drivers like you in taking low-paying offers. When this hidden catering order finished, I was shocked. I was very upset to see that Uber Eats only paid me $5. First to load, then to transport, then to unload a bunch of food 10 miles. Now, orders like this, they can be profitable, but there's only one important component that has to be in there for that to be profitable. I think that absolutely Uber Eats knows this, and they purposely pay drivers less because what they're doing is they're allowing the customer to pay the driver with an upfront tip. Shame on Uber Eats. When I received this offer, it came in at $15.25 for 10 miles, estimating 26 minutes to do. And I thought, hey, this is great. That's $1.50 per mile. And then when I got to the Mexican restaurant, I took my food delivery bag in and I was all ready to get that order. And then the worker showed me, oh, here's a tray. And it was a full-size tray of meat. And then I saw a second half tray with something. And I thought that was it. No, there's more. There was a big bag, and I assume it was a big thing of beans and then another one of rice. And then there was one more bag. So I let them know since the order was still getting ready, I'd go out to my car and I told them I have more food delivery bags. And that's what I did. I went out to my car. I have a giant catering one, and I took the time. I have a cardboard insert that goes in there. And then I also grabbed 2 more bags because I wanted to make sure I had enough room that I could safely transport and care for this food, because obviously a catering order, that's a big deal and it's not very common. So before I get to that surprise of the great tip reveal, please share in the comments right now for Uber Eats drivers. Please let me know if you've seen the real catering orders, the one that says catering on it, or also let me know if you've seen what ended up to be a catering order like what I just went through. And please let me know how much your pay was, both the base pay and then the tips that came through. I think what this is going to do is help all drivers to see if catering orders, the official ones, are common on Uber Eats. And then also, what's the percentage of orders that really kind of sneak through? They are catering orders just because of the massive size of the food. So thank you for doing that. That's going to help drivers just see how widespread Uber Eats manipulating us really is, especially with these kind of large orders. So thank you for doing that. Here we go. All right, so the entire back seat was full of food, and I started heading down the 10-mile trip. When I'm about 5 minutes out, what I like to do to build that human connection, again, I haven't communicated with the customer yet. So to build that connection, 5 minutes out, I send this message, and you can copy it as well. It says, hello, I'm Russ with Uber Eats. I will be there soon. Later, please don't forget to rate my service. Thank you. It's a pleasure serving you, Russ. If you copy that, if you read through that later carefully, you're going to see why that's so important. So I did send that message. And then I spent the rest of the time just fantasizing and imagining this massive amount of food in the back. It's going to be a big payout because catering orders, that involves a lot of work. And I know the other apps on the catering apps, they want you to set up the order because it's a big deal. Now, obviously, I think Uber Eats and Grubhub and DoorDash, they don't require setup. But the concept is the same. If a business is ordering a big amount of food, they want the driver to assist. So that's what I did. So I pulled up to the house and I parked, and I could see a bunch of cars, which makes sense if there's a ton of food. And I saw a woman come out, and as I was carrying the food up, I said, hi, I'm Russ, and how's your day going? And making small talk. We walked to the door, and I could see, I offered, would you like me to bring it inside? And she said, oh, yes, thank you. Don't mind the mess. We're just cleaning up still. And so I boldly brought the food in, and right there to the right was the kitchen. I set down my bags, And then I carefully lifted up the pan of meat and I said, be careful, it's hot. And obviously the worst thing, you don't want the meat to spill or anything, because that would ruin the experience of the customer. So I got the tray out, then I got the second tray, then I had the big bag of beans and rice, and then there was another bag, and actually it's probably tortillas and plasticware, who knows. So I was very efficient. I was only in the house less than a couple minutes. So I can already imagine in the comments, people are going to be saying, hey, don't you ever go into someone's house. And that's true. There's immense legal impact to this, and then also physical danger. So in general, for all drivers, we have no business going into someone's house. So why would I do that? Do you remember I mentioned about catering orders? They're ordering a service, and even though it's not specific in UberEats, I'm imagining this massive tip coming my way for this order, because $15, there's going to be a huge tip afterwards. So I wanted to bend over backwards and help her. And again, I'm not going to be washing my hands and setting the table. No, it was just helping her. I could see she was by herself, and it's a ton of food. So I'm just being helpful. You're going to have to use your own best judgment on how and why, if you ever go into someone's home, when invited. So have fun in the comments. I think it is a worthy discussion to have, to see how much is too much and how much is too little. So anyway, I grabbed my bags after less than 2 minutes of being in the home, and then I left. When I got in my car and drove away, I went down the street and I parked, and I was so excited. I went in to see that pay, because you know the estimate was $15.25. Anyway, I got in there. I was sad. UberEats tricked me, and you already know where this is going. The base pay was $5.25. And then what really made me even more sad after that is I realized that order, $15.25, the woman already tipped $10 up front. So of course she's happy with everything because she placed the order with UberEats, and she would assume that the driver's well paid, and she already tipped. So I still want to give good customer service to the customer, especially with such a large order like that. I actually was kind of hoping maybe for a cash tip, or in the app when it said $15.25, that was just base pay. And then she was going to tip me well after, because look, I brought the food in. I was very helpful and polite. And I said, have a great weekend, and I hope you have a great party, whatever the event was. So that actually was kind of disappointing. So even though I didn't get a super tip, the tip was already in there. Was that a fair order? Was it good pay? I think it is shameful that UberEats would only pay $5.25 on purpose, letting the customer pay the rest in a tip. But if there was no tip, to pay $5.25, that took me 24 minutes to do that job, driving 10 miles. That's unacceptable. So don't let UberEats trick you with things like this. In fact, if it was $5, that works out to $11 per hour, because probably we could do 2 of those orders an hour, especially such a long distance. Now, including her tip, $15, that's $30 per hour. That's actually a really good deal, not for a catering order, but if it was just your average McDonald's or a restaurant delivery, because there's not as much food. $30 per hour is great. Even with that mileage, that would be awesome. But if UberEats had done the base pay of $15 to, again, package all that food and keep it safe and warm, and then that is a lot of work. And I'll tell you what, any of the catering apps, they're at least going to be doing $20 per delivery. On top, well, actually, not even on top. That's the minimum. And then the customers really should be tipping a lot based on the value of the food, because you're setting it up. And I know the UberEats, Grubhub, and DoorDash, they're not set up like this. But $15 base pay to drive 10 miles for a catering order, just because I'm hesitating, I'll just say it's not worth it. That's where the customer tip would come in to just really boost it up. So let's say that UberEats did the $15 base pay, and then she gave me a $10 tip. That's $25. That would be $50 per hour. That's more like it for a catering order. So at home, I got on the internet, and you can do this too on your computer. It's drivers.uber.com. I got on there accessing my account, and in there, in the app, they took it out years ago. You used to be able to see what I'm going to show you now. I just wanted to see what's the story with her. How much did she pay Uber for that service? So she ended up paying a total of $7.50 and then a $10 tip. So that's $17.50. I think she could assume that most of that money went to me. So Uber Eats service fee was $2.50. And that $2.50, that's all that Uber Eats made from this. All the rest made up my pay, the $5.25 and then the $10 tip. So she didn't really get any big discounts, and a $7 fee on a massive order like that, that wasn't extreme. So probably she was just taking advantage of ordering on Uber like that. And I did notice, if you're familiar with stocks, the company Toast, I saw on the line it said, say her name, and it's a Toast order. So possibly she did some kind of third-party thing of ordering this food through Uber Eats, and then they would allow the driver to deliver. So that was interesting. If you want to ever go back and look at how much the customer is paying in fees, check that out. It's drivers.uber.com. And you do need to use your computer or your phone. It is not in the Uber Eats app. Even though I was disappointed and secretly hoping that there was going to be a massive cash tip or afterwards a really big payout, that would have made this order fantastic. As it was, this order was great. Don't get me wrong. The pay and the miles were good. Yes, I did have to do a lot of extra work for that quantity of food. And again, it's not that common. So I've got good news for you. I've made a video out by the ocean where you can learn how to deliver food safely and profitably. And I think you can truly see the value in that. So watch that video next, and I'll see you there. And I'm going to get back on the road, do some more orders, and make some more money. Take care.